Let me also bring in Ajay Bodke, who's joining us this morning. Ajay, everyone trying to anticipate the extent of reaction there of the tax amendments and really FI sentiment on the back of that. What are you making of some of these amendments?
Good morning. I think because of a very well-calibrated measure that the government has put in place, in my opinion, I think any nervousness or undue volatility, investors should take opportunity of that by buying into fundamentally strong companies, because there are multiple triggers lined up for the market. And by grandfathering all the investments made till 1st of April 2017, rooted through Mauritius, as it is, I think, the current investors, I think, should not sense any nervousness. Also, I think, by having a 2-year grace period where you only impose 50% capital gains tax provided you certain conditions are adhered to, even the government allays that concerns about full capital gains tax for the short term, because long term anyway it is zero. So I think this is just a knee-jerk reaction from a section of the market. But I think as the import of the measures, because this is in consonance with the global measures, where there is revulsion against tax evasion, round tripping, and we are basically putting in place measures in line with the measures taken by many developed countries. So the FIs coming from developed countries will give a thumbs up when the dust settles down. I think the market will look forward to 2 triggers. First is obviously the arrival of monsoons and the consequent perk up in rural demand, which should come into play post-harvest. And secondly, the government's statement that the 7th Pay Commission award money will start getting into the pockets of central government employees from June, July onwards. So you'll have the entire consumption-led basket, I think, coming back into play. So companies in two-wheelers, sectors like two-wheelers, automobiles, consumer durables, as well as some of the banking, consumer finance companies are the ones that one should be specifically looking at if there is any nervousness in the market today.
Right. Okay.
Z first. Ajay, your reaction to those earnings? Markets obviously happy with those numbers.
Yeah, numbers, prima facie, look very good. Unfortunately, we don't cover those stocks, so I won't be able to comment on it in detail.
Just coming to this point, just to see what's going on with this treaty, just to clarify, nothing is happening till April 2017, which means anybody who's invested, nothing happens to them, nothing changes for them. Even after that, if somebody invests, which is in May 2017, they will have to pay 15%, not the full half of the domestic rate. In some ways, to me it looks, thank God, the government is making the playing ground level for being Indian and not being Indian. Otherwise, you are being rewarded for not being Indian.
I agree with you. And I think, there was this concern expressed in many quarters that instances of round tripping also are, in some instances of round tripping also are happening. So as I said sort of in the previous reply, I think there is a clear revulsion among taxpayers all over the world in terms of plugging the loopholes that are being taken advantage of by certain unscrupulous elements. And that's why a concerted effort is being made by all the governments, I think, and this is a move that is to be seen in line of that. And the government also has said that they will very soon be renegotiating the Singapore Treaty also. So I think one by one, I think a regulatory mechanism is being put in place, which is in consonance with the developed markets. So that's why I think the FIs, in my opinion, would take it in their stride. And because the government has laid out a very clear long-term roadmap, it's not a knee-jerk reaction that right from, say, a month from today, I think the regime changes. So I think this is the kind of calibrated long-drawn measure which will be appreciated by the foreign investors. Also, let's remember that this, if you look at some of the measures the government has taken, in the last budget, the government has said that they'll reduce the corporate tax to 25%. But again, they said it's not going to be, it's not going to happen immediately. So again, they laid out a roadmap that over a 5-year period it will happen. So there is a clear thinking in the government that you need sort of to take on board the concerns that long-term investors have and ensure that the policies are put in place wherein they can take a long-term call based on a clear thinking from the policymakers. And that is what is of great comfort if you talk to a lot of foreign investors.